in-depth knowledge about the barrier coating. I wish you all the best. And I hope in India also people will start using such type of barrier coating just to make it more eco-friendly. Thank you very much. Over to Fahim Bhai.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, team from Newlit as well as Actega. We've got several other questions. I see a question in the question answer box also. I suggest all those people who have questions for water-based coatings, please write to us at the BMPA and we'll definitely get answers for you from Newlit and from Actega. So thank you very much for partnering with us. Thank you, Nitin Bhai. I now hand it over to Milab Shah of Printstop, who's going to take the proceedings further.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for taking time out today to attend this webinar. I'm going to introduce our star speaker for the evening. I'm going to read Manish's official bio right now. His official bio has a lot of superlatives in it. Manish Sharma is a co-founder of Printo, India's largest print chain. Printo has disrupted the print industry, creating a new specialty retail category with 13 stores across 6 cities. Printo also owns India's largest photo book maker, Canvera. Manish is a serial entrepreneur who earlier co-founded India's earliest and largest web solutions firm in '96. He then co-founded an AI product firm in the US and subsequently ran a UK headquartered software firm. He has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from Mumbai University and a master's from Oxford University. He's an avid long-distance runner, amateur mountaineer, and does some theater too. Now, this is his official formal bio. Let me tell you a little bit about Manish, what I know him. So I know Manish since 10 plus years. He's a very warm and friendly guy. He's a Bombay boy, born and raised in Bombay. He's also an eco warrior. I mean, for the 12 plus years at work, he mostly cycles to work every day. I, in fact, remember meeting him for dinner at Koshi's in Bangalore once, and I was really surprised when he came in a cycle and he put his helmet on the table right there. So I was wondering what this guy is. I also remember sitting with him in his Reva electric vehicle about 10 years ago. So he is very concerned about things in and around him. He's also an extremely good sharer and has amazing business insight. So please join me in welcoming Manish Sharma from Printo. I'd just like to add one other point before Manish takes over the stage. We're going to have him speak for about 30 odd minutes with his presentation, and then we're going to have an open Q&A. I would request everyone to put your questions in the Q&A box. The chat is going to be disabled, and post that, we'll actually make you a panelist, make you live with Manish in order to ask him your question, get a response so that you can interact with him. The stage is all yours, Manish. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this.
Hey, thanks, Milab. Thanks. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Nice to see a nice crowd on Saturday. And that kind of puts pressure on me. And hence, I'll start with a disclaimer, right? But I'll come to the disclaimer. Let me just quickly start with the presentation. We'll do a short presentation, go through some of the things that I'd recommend we start doing right now. And then most of the session should be interactive, as Milab also mentioned. So let me try to present this and see. Milab, give me a heads up when you see the screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, we're visible and you're loud and clear. You're on.
Fantastic, great. So there's 2 parts to this talk. And I think that the best way for entrepreneurs to learn is typically by sharing a lot of detail, right? And I think with my friends and guys like Milab, who are really good friends, we actually sit down and share almost every detail, right? And it goes down to even how much we pay ourselves from the business. These are small things which perhaps I'm in a better position to share right now because I'm not in your market, but yet in your market. And so maybe I'll take that, take that opportunity. So we'll talk about what Printo specifically did and exactly what we did a year ago and what we as an industry should be doing right now, along with some of the things that we are doing, right? And then we can use that as a base to talk around what is good, what is bad, aise karna chahiye tha ya kuch aur strategy lagani chahiye thi, those kind of things, right? So quickly about Printo is, we are into retail print. We have stores, we have walk-in stores. We also have an enterprise business where we sell to all the standard Infosys, Wipro, Microsoft, Amazon, for a bunch of their enterprise large large quantity needs. And we've got a photo book brand. So hence that means that we're exposed to digital white format. We do a lot of outsourced offset, or let me say we used to do till a few months ago or a year ago, a lot of outsourced offset and a bunch of brand merchandising as well. So just to say that we have exposure to each of these areas. So this may not apply to everybody, but this is something which we found useful. And I'll walk you through what happened last year, 1 year from now. So this is actually my real deck, which we used in our company. We're about 900 plus people, maybe 950, 960 in Printo. And we luckily, we kind of spotted this early in Jan, right? When I was speaking to some members in some of our vendors in China, and I realized that the lockdown was worse than worse than what we were told, right? So if you think that we are not getting full information from the government now, you should have checked out what China did. That's not a defense of our government, but that's actually just saying that there was no information at the time, except from the ground, right? So if you didn't spot it, don't worry. Is this presentation too late? Is this first 15 minutes going to be a waste of your time? Maybe it might be, and I hope it is a waste of your time, so that most of us have put in place measures in place. But for a few of those who've not yet put in measures, maybe it's not too late and it's time to put in those measures. So it's a quick checklist of what we should do in terms of a crisis, which I put together, because I have lost a company in a crisis way back in 2000, and we've managed to recover in crisis in 2008. So there were some lessons which we put in place along with what happened last March. I'm going to put up a self timer as well, so I know where I am on this. So there are 4 do's that I come up with, right? And one of them is, just do what you can control. There are too many things happening. So let's focus on what you can control, right? Do it with speed, very, very fast. Communication is extremely important, and this communication might be a 5-person company. Communicate with everybody. And when I say communicate with everyone around you, family, friends, and eventually take care of yourself, because if you haven't taken care of yourself, there's no way you can save your company. Quick checklist, right? And we'll have time for questions, so you can stop me later. As soon as anything hits, I know you all have done this. And I hope you all have done this, but for perhaps that one person who hasn't done it, let's go through this checklist. Stop all payouts, right? We are in a crisis right now. If you've not yet done this, and we will release payouts, but stop them right away as you can. Calculate your operating profit with revenue down to 0 and revenue down to -50. I know revenue was down to 0 for 1 month, but just calculate this to give you an idea of what is your basic fixed cost, right? And I'll spend a little time on that. That will then look at the money in your bank, and that is what we call runway, right? Kitna paisa pada hai, hum kitne pani mein hai, that is the first check. How much of a mess are we in? Loss kitna ho raha hai mahine mein, aur paisa kitna hai hamare paas, right? And bring down all fixed costs to 0. I'm not suggesting anything out here which I have not done. Cut team sizes, of course, very obvious things. Communicate again, take care of yourself. Remember that this is data, actually, this is real data. The timeline is not mentioned. Oh, here it is mentioned, 2008, right? 2008 timelines of what happened with companies who survived and who didn't survive. So in the red, you see is a company which started taking actions early, but not fast enough, right? So let me just bring out the pointer. So you see, they started taking some actions, but they started taking actions year, cutting costs. Here's a company which took actions really fast and really deep. Okay? And this is real data from American companies simply because they survived. We have data out there. Yahan itna data milta nahi hai. So, and it was shared from from a person, by a person whom I respect a lot and know him personally. And this is real data, right? So you have to. I'm just stressing one point. You have to cut deep and cut very fast. whatever actions we take have to be quick and fast and deep. Can't be small piecemeal actions. For example, if we have we had 40 stores, we shut down 2, and but when it came to rent, we went to 0 rent for all the stores in 3 days, right? Literally, and that kind of saved us in hindsight. So let me tell you what happened with us last year. Printo, we called for a meeting on 5th of March. I have a professional CEO, Balu Iyer, fantastic guy. I called him. I said, Balu, this is looking really bad. Let's just call something called code orange. Matlab, ekdam emergency nahi hai, emergency -1 hai, right? And we called for a team meeting and said, this is what we are doing. All expansion, capex expansion stopped. We had a big machine coming in from China, and we got lucky that we decided to go the LC route instead of an advanced route, and we had cash in the bank. It was a 50 lakh machinery plus karke 75-80 lakhs ho jata, but we had cash in the bank. So, but yet we decided to go the LC route. Took us a little more time and gave us enough time to stop capex of all kind and a few other capex. A new store was opening. We froze all hiring, increments cancelled. Now, this might apply to your company depending on where you were in the storm and where you are today in the storm. I'm doing all these things today also. 1 year later, we are doing the same things. But we realize that in a larger company, some things you've already committed and you are not revisiting. And that's a problem. So more than 50, 100 people, this can get to be a problem, right? That's why you need a checklist. We put up a team to focus on receivables and conserving cash. Right? Even today, I have one person who reports receivables, and we've got a dashboard on a daily basis. Receivables matlab ke paisa jo collect karna hai, right? On 16th March, we moved to code red. This is 16th March last year. Right? If you remember, jo Janta curfew hua tha, I think was a few days after that. Right? So by 15th March, we had already implemented the pieces in the front, and we did the other things of salary cuts. So we had a larger team there. We decided that nobody lose their job, but everyone take a deep salary cut between 30 to 70%, literally, right? One thing, so those are the checklist, and I'll come to numbers. But before I do that, I find something is obvious to a lot. So forgive me if I'm repeating this, but sometimes it's not obvious. There are 2 different things: profit and cash flow, right? So profit kitna kama rahe ho? If you are a profitable company, you can yet shut down. You might be a non-profitable company and you can yet survive if your cash flow is fine, right? And I will show you numbers and explain this further, and I'm happy to take questions. But we confuse profit with cash flow big time, right? Cash aa ja raha hai, chalo rotation ho raha hai, theek hai, that's not theek hai, because one bad move, 1 bad month, 2 bad months, you've got creditors on your back, right? And sometimes you're making lots of profit, but theek hai na, paisa aate rahega yaar, wo client kahin nahi jayega, Infosys hai, kya hua, right? That's also a bad move. So both of them, but we should know which bucket we are in. We are in the profit bucket, which is bad, the cash flow bucket, which is bad. Because in times of crisis, both buckets get bad, but you should know what was originally the reason. I believe in informing vendors early, right? And paying small guys very fast, right? Who have real input costs, delaying all the big guys, right? So HP, Xerox, all of them were on a call. We had relationships. So I said, boss, paisa to nahi aayega, or 3 mahine tak nahi aayega, right? So tell them early, right? And then if you can pay them in 2 months, great. But this was a call we did before 16th of March. And I find even if you do it later, it's okay, but just do it. You have to face it rather than not taking their calls or not answering their phone calls, right? So I've spoken to at least 20, 30 vendors. I've spoken to about 15 landlords, right? Because while my team went out and spoke, I think it needed some senior managers to speak as well. So we did that. But speak proactively to everybody. Create some room for yourself to sit down and think, right? Team I spoke to very, very early, of course, and we need to tell them that cuts are around the corner. Customers, right? We need to approach right away. Keep a few people, call them 3 times. Even today, if you've not done that, or if you had somebody in your office call them, just be right there, right? I always used to tell that, oh, local train mein jaise hum rumal rakhte hain na ki ab seat mera hai, you have to be first in queue, right? When you're catching customers for payments in times like these, right? I also, luckily we had no bank debt. We had a 50 lakh debt. And, but I did reach out to some of the banks saying that, boss, mujhe paise ka zarurat padega, right? And, but we are not very good with banks, and we don't have collateral to give, all that stuff. So we didn't manage to raise money from banks. The last point is my most important point. I feel that we, in times of stress, don't pay GST, don't pay TDS, don't pay PF, right? And that's really bad, right? That we should not, because you need to sleep well. And these are, while this is a crisis, nobody will come after you for 1 or 2 months. But this is what people will really come after you for very soon. And I must admit that this second wave, it has crossed my mind that let me not pay GST for 2 months. It was more out of anger than anything else, right? First time in my life, I thought I'll break the law. We don't do any transaction in our company without a bill. But it did cross my mind because the stress was so high. And luckily, sense prevailed, and we didn't do anything stupid. But I've seen a lot of friends go down that path, and that's something you don't want to do at all. So make those payments happen. Delay ho jayega, thoda penalty de do, 15 din baad de do, but definitely make this. So this is the cash flow math, and we'll revisit this. But let's look at. I'm just sharing my company numbers. It doesn't matter if there's a 0 extra in your company or a 0 less in your company, right? But basic mota numbers, right? So we were like normally about 10 crores a month company, right? And we've in February, we were 9.52 crores. Retail is very predictable sales for us on what's going to happen. Smaller months, smaller sales. Indirects means all your indirect costs, right? Your fixed costs, salary, rent, typical electricity bills, all those costs, right? And these were our numbers, right? March, we were projected to make a 1.1 crore profit. We had we thought we'll end March with 7-8 crores in the bank to be able to invest further. And this cash in the bank, this has nothing to do with profit, right? We'll end that. And that year we were going to do 120 crores. What finally happened was we did 116 crores. But this is what actually happened. On March 6th, already our numbers we tried to project out, they were looking so bad. From trying to do 10 crores, we did less than 5. Our profit was looking 1 crore had turned into a loss of 2 crores. April was looking really bad, almost 0 sales. May was looking bad, 4 crores loss. Or मेरे पास पैसा कितना है 5 crore है. So we are going to get wiped out right away. If we don't do anything, we might survive for a month, 2 months, not make payments, but we will get wiped out, right? Just see this. This is my profit, which is a loss. This is my cash in hand, which is in the bank. Nothing to do with my profit. So our cash in hand was 5 crores. We would run out in 3 months if we collected receivables from our customers on time. Okay. We realized we needed a lot of cash. We needed 11 crores to survive. And we went in and looked at each of the places how we could get money per month. So we said, okay, large vendors, we pay out 1.5 crores every month. Stop that, buy more time. Rentals cut, other costs cut, and go out and try to raise 6 crores. This was our situation, and we started acting. The good thing was we started acting on March 16th onwards, right? This time we're completely screwed. We did not start acting till, I think, 2 weeks ago. Right? Just because there was too much happening. 20%, 15% of my team was not there, either COVID, either something else, or the families got COVID. So this time the situation is worse for us, right? But let me move on. So from 6th of March, we did the actions to bring down our losses. We were yet making losses, but bring down our losses from 4.5 crores to 2.2 crores. What do you mean by bring down losses in future? We just cut our expenses today. So we projected out what our numbers looked like for the next 3-4 months, right? And this is what it looked like. So I'm yet losing money at that time, 16 March, but I know how much I'm losing. It's half of what I'm losing. and I can last out. And the strategy that time was survive. 3-4 महीने बाद देखेंगे. I'd said September में ठीक हो जाएगा. सब लोग बोलते हैं पागल है September, and actually पागल था क्योंकि September में कुछ ठीक नहीं हुआ. I took all the way till January, and then we all know what happened in February. So our strategy was that time, was different. But what did we do? Sorry, strategy for April, May, June, which is pretty much the strategy for this April, May, June is we reset. I've written rest. Sorry, we reset our finances. Any business that brings us cash, we did it. Any business. I'm a print company. We went in for the short term to sell masks and bunch of other things. I won't do it again. Means I won't do this for more than, we stopped doing it after 4 months, 5 months. But we had access to customers, we had access to our suppliers, and lots of our suppliers were saying, we have access to these things, do you want to sell? And our customers, because they were procurement guys, they were calling us that, hey, can you get us masks and all that stuff. So we did maybe 70-80 lakhs of that. There's not much money there, and quickly decided, once we got a big inquiry for an order for worth about a couple of crores, we decided get out of it, right? Because this is not our game. We don't understand this. Let's move on. It was a PPE suit, kitting, everything. And that also government of India. So Karnataka government, yeah. We set a collection target. Even right now, we have a collection target towards which we are moving. And that is the only thing I track on a daily basis. Move team to online and telesales. Retail team moved there. That happened fast. It can actually happen faster than we think because of cloud software available and cloud telephony available. And then we started launching new products in June. And what are the new products? Home decor instead of regular this thing, focusing on personal consumers, work from home products for customers rather than our standard print products. This, how did it play out? Let me just, so we survived last year, right? And we became profitable on a monthly basis. In October, November, again, we were profitable. December, we made a loss. Jan, we became profitable. We kept increasing salaries, right? And we thought we were doing well when, again, COVID-2 hit. So, and I think we are in the middle of that fight. So we've already actioned certain things out. I won't, it's most of the same thing. I won't talk about that too much, but happy to answer questions of what we are doing right now, which is different. That is first part of what really one should do. And I'm confident that most of you all have done this. If you've not done it, stop this presentation, go out and do it, right? Because we don't have time to lose out here, right? We need to go to the second one, which is the print industry outlook, right? And this is a difficult one, right? And I think recognizing reality is very difficult out here. So let's go and look at reality. Right? What does it look like? Let's call the business person in us. Let's remove the printer hat. एक 5-10 मिनट के लिए printer मत बनो. हम business वाले हैं, let's call that businessman, businesswoman in us to look at the reality as if we are looking at it from outside. And ask the question that, will you enter this industry if you've just come in and said, kya business karo? Right? And I will share an anecdote here, right? Which, I'd come back from UK, and I'm a software engineer, come back, and I was starting Printo, moving to Bangalore. My father was very upset. Now he's an engineer, but we are Marwadis, but किसी ने business नहीं किया है घर में. Even his dad was an engineer and his grandfather was an engineer. So, but my father was very disappointed when he heard about Printo because, it was a digital print shop basically. And he said that, हमारे में जब ये लड़का होता था, वो बोलते थे कि अरे बहुत बढ़िया है, धंधे में लगा लो, right? And I'm sorry for being, he was being chauvinist. I'm not being chauvinist. I'm narrating it as it is. धंधे में लगा दो. से लड़का इतना तेज नहीं होता था, उसको बोलते थे कि भाई ऐसे करो, इसके लिए कोई एक धंधा खोल दो. He's not a very smart kid. धंधा खोल दो इसके लिए. और लड़का एकदम ही बेकार होता था, कुछ होपलेस लग रहा था, तो बोलते थे इसके लिए प्रिंटिंग प्रेस खोल दो और तू वही काम करने जा रहा है. I was like flabbergasted and I was very disappointed. I was very angry with my dad. I actually stormed out. I said, here I'm going to start a business. I've got everything set up. I've got a shop taken out. And this is the time he chooses to dispense this advice to me. I didn't tell him too many things, but I did tell him a thing or two. But after 5 to 10 years, I realized why they say this, and there was some truth in it. That doesn't mean to discourage us, but it just there is some truth, because the entry barrier is very low. Anybody can start a business. You can start today. You can start a 4-color offset press with hardly any capital, right? And digital तो भूल ही जाओ, आप तो यार 2 लाख रुपए की मशीन लेके आप digital printing शुरू कर सकते हो, right? So a very low entry barrier, which means anybody can get in, right? You don't need very specialized skills. You can get a press operator to run it for you, right? High competition that we don't even need to talk about this industry. Very low power with the suppliers of this industry. That's us. We are the suppliers to our customers. We have very low power, right? हम ना बोल देंगे तो वो किसी और के पास जाएंगे हमारे customer, right? So we have it shows where the power equation lies in this industry. And there's a high threat of substitution, right? There's a classic Porter's 5 forces, but with some variation. Substitution तो आप सबको ही मालूम है क्या हो रहा है, right? Print is gone down, right? Digital has come up, and with it was always going down. I'm not even with COVID. COVID has just accelerated it. Printo used to be 100% print on paper 14 years ago. Today, we are, I'm non-COVID, pre-COVID, we are 40% print on paper, 40. Okay? We had planned it to be this way, but I didn't plan it to be so dramatic, right? And our print has gone up, but our proportion of print has just dropped dramatically, right? That is the truth, right? I outsource to offset vendors. I myself am a producer of paper print, but this is reality out here. So this is the bad news, right? Once you recognize reality, I think we need to recognize our strengths. And I've done this exercise myself, and I found it useful, and hence I'm sharing. I said, what is my strength, right? Am I a great operator? A good operator, great operator is an operator of a business, not a machine operator. Great operator is either a technical person, loves technology, loves quality, or loves trying to bring pieces together, right? And operate it on a daily basis, right? My partner, Lalana, she's a great operator, right? Fantastic operator, right? And she comes from Xerox, right? And she used to be, initial parts of our business, she used to be our head of retail operations. She takes pride in that. I'm not a great operator, right? So then say, are you an operator? Decide where you are. What do you love? And normally, you know your strength. If you enjoy the job, it gives you energy. Thinking about doing the job gives you energy. While you doing the job gives you energy. And after you've completed the job, you are like thrilled, right? And we find these joys in many things, right? I don't necessarily find the joy in operation, but I find it in product creation, for example, right? Are you great at sales, right? If going out to make a customer call makes you like really excited, right? During a customer call, you feel excited. This shows your strength, right? Are you great at money? Look, you might be running a business which is not great, but you might yet be great at money, and you might know that, right? Look, I understand I'm stuck in the wrong place, wrong time, but I'm great at money. Because I'm making some smart investments in the stock market and doing well there, right? So you got to recognize that's great. Are you great at following? If somebody tells me what to do, and I have some friends who are fantastic at that, tells me what to do, I really go after it. Right? Or are you great at creating? You could be great at 1 or 2 things out here. Maybe all, but it's good to pick what you're really, really good at. 1 or 2 things at best. Are you great at creating, right? So you like creating, starting a new product, new business. So we got our strengths. We got to now assess. I'm not going to weaknesses. Weaknesses don't make a damn difference, right? No point spending time on weaknesses. Look at our strengths. Look at our business strengths. So I would say, hey, if I'm thinking of Printo, what are my business strengths? I would say, okay, I've got a good brand. Do I have a brand? I could have a brand even if I'm B2B, if I'm selling to customers, pharma companies, they trust me, they do that. So do I have a great brand, which means do a lot of customers keep coming to me, call me, do I get inflow? Or when I call them, do they respond very well, right? Do I have a great location? In some cases, just where your plant is a big asset, right? Just that you have an asset, you great location for your plant. Or do I have the opposite of that? I'm very asset light. I can adapt to anything. You could be a jobber, or you could be somebody with very little assets, but do a bunch of jobs, right? So it could be an asset light model. There are many strengths in businesses. I only listed 3. You could have a strength that, you know what, I actually, I'm from a very rich family. I have access to money. As long as I don't spend it, I can last this out. That could be an asset as well, right? And unfortunately, not an asset with me, but that could be an asset. I don't look down upon it that, hey, you are like endowed with richness, or with wealth, but it could be an asset. So think about the assets. Typically, they fall into 3-4 areas. That's your business strengths, right? And then think about where the hell is the money. Okay. We've spoken about packaging already, and everybody knows that money is right now in packaging, where in packaging, and there are already some big players doing that. There's money in, I think, white format, inkjet. I'm not listed out here, but it's there. There is money in digital communication. We all know. Can we repurpose our communication to that? Branded merchandise, there's money. We're operating that space. Printo itself is doing it. A bunch of people out here are doing it. There is money there. It's a mix of print plus other skills, right? There is money. So we got to speak to other players in non-compete geographies if they're not very open to sharing. And where's the money? Aapka dhanda kahan se aa raha hai, right? And you get a sense. And eventually, I also think that there's money in a job. Now, a lot of you may not like this, but I'm saying it anyways, right? I believe that I would have made more money if I'd stayed in a job, right? In the last 15 years, the risk-reward ratio for me in a job is unmatchable, right? And I know many people out here, would have been in the same boat, because we are generally smart guys, right? All of us doing business, a lot of agency, that means hum initiative kafi lete hain, all those things. And we would have made a decent amount in a job. And when I do a 15-year compounded interest, exercise, no way in hell, right? Today, even with 100+ crore company, whatever, I think today I might claim that I've got wealth, which I can't access because in the value of the company. But in terms of real cash and money, I would have made it much more in a job. And we have to recognize some of those skills. Where is the money? Where are the jobs coming in, which might be related to me, right? And of course, in the last, I think, especially in the last 10 years, I must have thought at least twice, okay, yaar, मैं वापस US जाता हूँ, देखता हूँ कैसे करेंगे. In fact, I came to a point where I said that I'll go to the US, work, and I told my partner, I'll send the money here, so we'll be able to run the business better, right? And when she told me that, why send the money here? Let's just shut this place down, right? You'll save more money and you'll make more money. And it did cross my mind, and I did some serious analysis at that time, and it's actually a good option. So I want to put that on the table and discuss it. And I feel it's a shame that we as entrepreneurs don't discuss it. We are used to so much of truth. It slaps us in our face every day. But why don't we focus on the truth, which is really there? So take these 3 things together. What were the 3 things? Your strength, business strength, and where's the money? Put those strengths together. What are your strengths? Maybe you like creating products, and maybe you love sales. What are your business strengths, right? Yeah, maybe it's adaptable. It can do many more things. It's not like a focused one big asset machine, right? It can do many things. It's got a team which can assemble anything from boxes to clothes, right? And find out where the money is, right? Their strengths will give you joy. Your business strengths will give you the ability to leverage what you have today. And where the money is, we'll see to it that we don't make stupid mistakes, right? Of jumping into businesses just because somebody told us, or we thought it was good, or somebody gave us our first order. Necessarily, we got to, because we are much older. I think if there's anybody, we don't have too many options, right? On this call, right? In this stage. If we are, if there's anybody below 30 on this call, I would say, look, mostly in your situation, if you're starting off in print, starting on this thing, you don't want to be in this industry, right? And you better really answer that question yourself. Are you in this industry because you were too lazy to find something else and dad said, get onto this? or what is it, right? And there are exceptions, and exceptions should just, anyways, you should not be listening to me if you think you're an exception. I'm putting these points out there because they are doubts which went into my head, right? And but I'm 48, and for me, I don't. For me also, well, a lot of my friends said, hey, there are options for you, but I think I need to figure out these three triangles for myself. Where am I? Where's the money for me? What am I going to do for the next 10 years? We have to look at our stage in our lives, because we are human beings here, right? We're not just not businessmen or some vague notion like printers. We have to understand where we are and sit back and take an, do something. It's okay to move on, shut a business. Yeah. You may find this negative. I don't find this negative at all. I think shutting a business is like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Unless you shut down, you won't start new things. They just won't be created. You don't have the money to start new things unless you shut down something out. You won't have the time to start new things unless you shut something down. And I've done that in my life, and I've found it painful to shut down and incredible returns. And I always have said, whenever I've shut down something, I remember in 2008, we had shops in Bombay, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore. We shut Bombay, Pune, Hyderabad. All the shops were making some money. In a retail print business, you normally make cash profit in the store. There's no problem. But we shut it down, right? And it was very painful. It was a huge boom. It started opening my mind, focusing on things which I could, instead of running around these 3-4 cities and doing a bunch of other things, right? So, yeah. And you need to, at least I do imagine life 2 years from now, right now, and saying, hey, where are we going to be? In print, okay, I'm not going to move on. I'm not going to shut the business. So where is Printo going to be 2 years from now? What will its revenues look like? Kahan se revenue aayega? Kaun se category mein aayega? It's okay to move on. It's okay also to be stubborn and say, I'm not moving on. मैं तो इधर ही बैठा हूँ. Okay. हो जाए मेरा business छोटा. But I will make it profitable and do that way. Both approaches are okay. I'm actually just emphasizing the first approach should also be okay, which society, us, we kind of seem to shun and say, nahi, nahi, yaar, aise kaise hoga? And I don't think there's any shame in saying, hey, I had a business which I shut down. Because that's how you start something new. What is not okay is to take yourself too seriously. And I think that's what happens in business. We take ourselves too bloody seriously. Everything finally has to end with us. All the tension in the world is with us. All that stuff. The world will get destroyed if we don't show up. Right. And I'm yet struggling with that myself. I have to keep reminding myself not to take myself seriously. And tell myself that, boss, business is a game, yaar. Cricket match hai, nahi hua. Ye 5 din mein khatam ho jata hai. Look at the depression we face when India gets thrashed by Pakistan. Right? Just look at what we go through. I was seeing some video, and it's doing the rotation right now on WhatsApp. What Misbah in the 2020 World Cup is, they need 18 runs in some few balls, and he's thrashing the shit out of us. And I said, why the hell are people passing this video on in these times of depression, right? Luckily, we win that match. It's a stupid tie, right? That stupid game makes us feel so depressed, right? No wonder business makes it, really depressed, but we move on from games, right? We get over the loss to Pakistan. Why don't we move on from business? No, because we are living it every day. I pretty much am, just going to end with this. This is a Faiz, kita, as they say it, right? And, which you must have, of course, heard, is that dil na umeed to nahi, naakaam hi to hai. Right? Na umeed is, it's not hopeless. It's just right now unsuccessful. So dil na umeed to nahi, naakaam hi to hai, lambi hai gam ki sham, magar sham hi to hai. So I'll see you on the other side when it's nice and bright, whichever form you're in. And now I invite questions so we can discuss some of these areas.
Hi, Manish. I think it was great. Thank you so much. I think there's a lot to learn about how you handled the first lockdown versus, I think, what's happening right now in the country. And the second one actually took a lot of us by surprise. So let me start off with the first question that I have before the team starts getting in other people on there. So is it that the first time onwards, because it was a complete lockdown, actually, there was no work. We had more time to plan and we could think through all of this. While right now, business was starting to grow up. We had decent numbers in December, Jan, Feb, and then suddenly we had to close down. So we were already too busy with other things and you couldn't plan well enough. Is that one of the reasons why you're saying this one is a more challenging one?
Yeah, I think in the previous one, I was a little more alert before, and I was not looking out for COVID. I was looking out for other parameters. We do an annual plan in December, and it was looking like just a 8% profit. And I said, I told my CEO, "Okay, boss, ye to looks like there's going to be a supply shock because of COVID in China. So let's which means some of our supplies might get stopped." And so let's prepare for getting more cash in the bank, because I don't think we'll hit our targets. That was all I thought was there. So, but you're right. But I also saw that there was nobody acting, and I found that data. I was we were lucky to see some of the data out there. I used to get on the phone. I had ability to sit back and think, and I think I was more in control. And you're right. In this time, I did not want this to be the second wave to happen, right? So we kept denying. I was in Bombay for my lalna surgery in December and Jan, and I said, "Ye kya ho raha hai Bombay mein?" Like public bus mein bhar ke ja rahe hain. Like I hope this thing. And then everybody used to say, "Arey boss, we are back on track" and all. So I finally told my wife that maybe I'm the fool. Maybe we really are back on track, and China is number one. India will become number two, because US is frozen. US had the biggest peak in America. Instead of now I look back, I say, how foolish was I? Instead of saying that was US में second wave है, India में क्यों नहीं आएगा? क्योंकि हम हल्दी और मिर्ची ज्यादा खाते हैं खाने में, इसलिए नहीं आएगा. Whatever, right? These are all the stories we heard. But I think it's a mix of all this. We were tired. We didn't want to have COVID too. Definitely the biggest fault was that we didn't have a signal from the government. Government signaling is important, right? See, even if I didn't act on March 16th, it's okay. I would have acted on March 20th, 21st, or April 20th, because the government had announced lockdown. Everybody had to act after that. We all see patterns, but we need one strong signal. That this time, I think singularly was missing. हम लोग सब लाइन पे आ जाएंगे, मास्क पहन लेते हैं, राइट? तो वी आर, एंड देन जैसे थोड़ा 6 महीना हो गया, छूट हो गई, हम भागते हैं. हम भी बच्चे हैं, but we need a signal from our leaders, right? So I think that was missing. That was what was missing in the US as well. And as soon as leadership changed, a lot of things changed rapidly there.
So in this second one, which you said is a little more challenging than last time onwards, and you already mentioned you're doing some of the same things, which are any other startling difference or something else that you're trying to do for the next coming months?
Yeah, big difference is that it's not a national lockdown. Okay, which for my business, see, all of us are different boats in the storm, right? In different situations. My business, this is actually bad news that it's not national lockdown. National lockdown means nobody can produce, nobody can buy, right? Except essential services. In my business, Bombay can produce. So my customers everywhere else can buy from Bombay. I don't have production in Bombay. I have production in Bangalore, primarily. I have 2 factories in Bangalore. So we're completely screwed, right? We've got some production, small production up in NCR, but it's very small. In Hyderabad, very small. So I think that is a big difference. Of course, the big difference, I think, which adds to why I did not act fast and well, there's a lot of gloom here. I think I have been on calls with my team and I have cried a couple of times. I said, I've got a list of people who are unwell. For first 15, 20 days, I said, nahi karna hai dhanda, just bhar mein jaye, right? Dekhenge baad mein. I did not want to look at numbers. Right? I have, all of us have got friends, and I yet don't have like first degree family member who died in the last 1 month, but I have friends who died. I have their friends who were in hospital. We thought we'll lose them. So I think all this has come together and just, weakened the resolve, right? Ek to pura thak ke ho gaya, 12 mahina ho gaya, uske baad ye sab. So death and gloom is also delaying decision making. So our customers, I see, are not able to take decisions because they are facing the same problem. I was speaking to a very large customer and he said 15% of his team is not available. I'm not getting payments on time because team is not there. So to process payments, right? Literally, right? And so I think that's another thing. And because of this, decisions even in work from home, gifting, branded merchandise. Last time we saw a lot of business in signage because everybody is saying that वापस आएंगे, right? So we were doing a bunch of signage business was through the roof, and it saved us in August, right? July, August. Right now everybody is sorted कि नहीं भाई हम वापस स्टोर घर में ही रहने वाले हैं. We're not coming. Software companies have a plan in place. So I don't see. I think the good news is, however bad, and it's going to get worse in Bangalore, I think, but its fall is rapid. So Bombay seems to be back on track. See, if you look at number of deaths, it's yet high compared to 1 year ago, but the improvement is high, and human psychology sees improvement, grasp onto hope, right? So I think we are going to come out of it a little faster than last time.
Okay. Thanks, Manish. Fahim, I think you can let people in with questions.
Yeah, hi Manish. Brilliant. I've been getting so many WhatsApp messages telling me that who's this bold guy who's telling us the truth on our face. It takes a lot.
Maybe usi boat mein ho, sir.
It takes a lot to say what you said, especially the last kita from Faiz Sahab. I've got so many messages praising that. And therefore, I should also share my favorite Faiz kita, which says, "Aur bhi dukh hai zamane mein mohabbat ke siwa. और भी दुख है जमाने में मोहब्बत के सिवा राहतें और भी है वस्ल की राहत के सिवा." So we're going to get the questions now. BMPA is doing something new every time. This time we're going to go live with the questions. So the person who's going to ask the question puts on his video. The first question guy is person who's posing the question is Anuj Bhargava. Anuj, please put on your video and ask the question to Manish.
Hi Manish, it's very impressive. Brilliant. I think the story is incredible. Everyone out here has enjoyed it. Personally, I did. And I enjoyed the last slide the most, which said it is okay to shut down. And believe you me, I mean, I have worked in a corporate for many years, and then I came back to India and I started this venture on my own. And I, especially around this COVID time, when you see things happening and, you have this whole thing about shutting and moving on. My question is slightly related, but somewhat out of the existing discussion. Do you see print on paper, even if it's packaging? Do you see it? Do you see it scalable? Do you see this going to 1,000 crores? Do you see a family or a corporate running a business that big on its own and being spread across many countries? Because what I see when I print labels, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I print labels. And when I see some of the largest, corporations around the world, world number 2, world number 3, world number 4 in labels, they're all owned by funds. They are not family owned anymore. They're not individual corporations anymore in that sense. So what's your take on how scalable print really is?
Thanks. It's a great question, Anuj. I think I'll put it in two parts. One is that any business can be scalable, right? So you can, so on a specific business point of view, there are enough Maharathis on this call, perhaps, right? Whose businesses are large and they've managed to do this, right? My prescription though is more about the industry, right? So for example, labels is right now on Printo online, which was doing 33% of our sales before COVID too. Our number one item is labels, right? But we are doing small digital cut printing labels, right? Our customers are small. Our order size is 1,000, 2,000 rupees, right? Maybe 3,000 rupees. We are not into the large side labels. So labels is doing fantastic. Packaging and labels is part of that, right? But the way to see this is also to step back and look at the macro industry. Right? Kahan ja rahi hai, and what are who are the players out here? And I think if you specialize in some of these places, there are definitely, as soon as you keep innovating, definitely is a scalable business. I think consumer packaging is not going anywhere for a long time, right? And there's direct correlation with GDP. Despite COVID, after 2 years, GDP will be back per capita. We'll be back on the same track. So it's a good long-term bet. Funds buying packaging is not a great indicator, or funds buying print is not a great indicator. They are buying this to strip assets, combine companies together, because they are saying that we are running our businesses so poorly that you built $100 million business. I'm going to push this together and get something out there. Nobody has made money from a promoter point of view, right? And these are skilled operators who will come in and say he'll restructure your business. So if you see the, what are those guys? They send a M&A weekly, M&A monthly report, Mark Cohen, I think, or one of those guys who's, and the US monthly graphics something report. In that, if you see M&A transactions, that tells you the mayhem in the US, right? And it's actually creative destruction. It's important to happen. It's not happening in India, unfortunately, because nobody wants to give up businesses, because it's a sunk cost. ठीक है, हमारे जेब से क्या जा रहा है? अरे जेब से आपका टाइम जा रहा है, जो आप नौकरी में कमा सकते थे या किसी और धंधे में कमा सकते थे. We don't think about the opportunity cost. So I think funds are not a great indicator necessarily. Apollo has bought Apollo, which is a big fund in the US, has bought has bought Shutterfly, right? Consumer company. Apollo has bought a lot of big companies. I thought I would be able to sell to Apollo, but then when I looked at it, Apollo only buys companies when they see that they are going through distress. Right? And we are too small for it. India, unless you're a 1,000+ crore business, right? It's not going to be on their radar. So in fact, Vista Print, which is a very, very good, profitable business, and and I spoke to Rob during this crisis as well, who's the founder, and he took over as the CEO. They had to go out and take debt of $300 million from Apollo, right? Which is the private equity fund. Which means if you had to go to Apollo, the terms would have been lethal, right? So it's not a great sign. I don't know if I've answered a question. It's never a crisp 0 or 1.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Manish. I'm now going to get in Bimal Mehta for the next question. Hi, Bimal, go ahead.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you? My first question is, I hope you're looking after my cousin sister.
She's looking after me. Huh? She's looking after me. So I will give an aside before you come to your question. My partner, Lalana, whom Bimal is referring to, we started the business. She moved on and we got in a COO to replace her. She does, she moved on from an operations role, she moved on into a consulting role, and she did training. She's a coach. She has been consistently earning more money than me in the last 5 years, right? And we have date night every Friday, and she goes, whoever earned, because she's consulting, she earns more money depending on how many hours she spent. I said, whoever earned more money last month pays for the bill. I think I've paid for the bill maybe 20-30% of the time. So yeah, that's how well she's taking care of me.
She's the smarter one in the family for sure. Yeah. No. So yeah, no. We wish her. So I haven't seen you guys since a long time, and I think that's probably one of the, I couldn't. Anyways, my question is, as do you see Printo moving from, ink on paper to print on screen, as in becoming a more digital communications company going forward?
Good question. The first reaction we did in the last crisis was do that. We turned all our PCs that are print consultants who are in the stores doing that into a digital business. And one of the things I thought was, hey, let's make one of the largest web design companies. And that was my first business in 95, 96. So, when internet was just starting. So I knew quite a bit about that space. And I thought, hey, this makes sense. We've kind of failed in that. I think it's been because of two reasons. One, I myself didn't focus on it as much. There were too many things happening. But I also think it takes much more than just this, right? It's the guys who are offering digital communications. And while I've offered that as one of the options in the slide, you need to focus on it, you'll get better. But it's not a switch, right? It's a big mindset change. And in terms of the kind of customer you're dealing with is very different, right? And the customers, because your customers already now you're dealing with very savvy web designers, 20-somethings, who are giving you the latest stuff, right? And saying, hey, this is how you do this. I'm competing with them with DTP professionals and trying to change them that, yes, save as web is not good enough. You've got to think as web, right? So I think I definitely, if you've got smaller teams and you can focus one good manager on that task, that is 100% thing to do. I am failing at it right now, and I've decided I won't pursue it till my other things, other initiatives fail.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we've obviously embarked on this journey many, many years ago. And, increasingly we've seen that from a pre-media company, which we called ourselves, we're becoming more of a software development company. And it's exciting, but it's extremely scary because now, I'm competing with the tech Mahindras of the world as well. So I think it's not easy, as you said. Thanks so much. Thanks.
I would just like to add to what Bimal and you were discussing. If you look at this company in the UK called printing.com, it is trying to spawn into exactly what you were mentioning with a separate company called Nettle. They're converting their physical stores into web designer designing skills. And I do see a huge gap in terms of what you ask anyone, nobody has a good web designer. Yes, there are lots of 20-year-olds, but I think there's a gap somewhere. But you're right, it's a challenging business to do in India though.
But Milab, since you mentioned it and Bimal's brought it up, I think depending on your strength, your business strengths, which includes your strength and your team strength, definitely worth pursuing it. So I met the Nettle, chairman of that group, printing.com. Then they created Nettle, went to a Nettle store when there was this, what's the UK one in NEC Birmingham, IPEX, last year, I think last year, sorry. And I thought this is what we want to do. We want to do, there's a big search cost which for finding a good web design guy who'll do it for 20,000 rupees, right? You have to always find some cousin, this, that. Same problem as a printer, right? So I think there's an opportunity for sure if somebody goes after it in that same way. Absolutely encourage folks to go down that path.
Thanks, Manish. Say hi to Lalana.
I will. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Bimal. Thanks, Manish. Next is Iqbal Kirodawala, our current president. Please put on your video and audio and ask your question.
Hi, Manish. It's nice to see you once again.
Yep. Hello.
I'm actually quite happy that COVID hasn't blunted your blunt speak, So I'm really quite happy that at least you're still calling a spade a spade. Actually, I put in a long question saying that, everybody keeps on talking about packaging being the next big thing. But the problem with us in packaging is that not only do we have very large investments, our customers have probably 3 months, 6 month yearly contracts. And our credit terms are a little longer, 3 months, 6 months sometimes. So it's pretty bad. Now, this point of yours where you say that you need to move instantly, for people in industry like ours who just don't do a one-off job, it's extremely difficult to simply just take a step and say, okay, we want to slow down from tomorrow. Yeah. Having asked this question, this was done in the initial stage when you were talking about that. So, but when I read that last stage, your last poetry, which says "Lambi hai gam ki sham, lekin sham hi to hai." So okay, that partly answered my question, but I would still like you to answer my apprehension about what to do in such a situation when you can't simply take a step back so quickly.
Yeah. No, I understand, and that's why everyone's got his own boat. Iqbal, unfortunately, we are all in different situations, so it's not one a single brush that I can use. I would just say that where you are asset heavy, especially, right, and big, almost like a process industry, if I may, it's very difficult to do that. But what I did mean was not just you move from an industry, but the steps which you can, I don't think you can move very fast when it comes to changing industry or changing, that takes time, keep on trial and error. But the things that are in your control are really the costs, vendors, as well as reaching out to customers very quickly. And I found that our customers in COVID have been very, very responsive. Human beings in general have become better. Whatever we see, we've seen the negative side of that. But I'm sure if any one of y'all in your association picks up the phone, calls the other guy and said, "Boss, I need some help. This guy owes me some money. Can you make a call?" Right? You will find people responding. So we went out and asked our customers that, "Boss, can you not only pay my overdues, please, can you give me my outstandings earlier? Because I need to, and we got a good response. In fact, we are doing that again out here because we realized that we'd done a good job last time, that we didn't have real bad overdues. We had outstandings, but no overdues, right? Very little overdues. So I think those are and then the cutting of the costs, right? Like calling the team and saying that, boss, deep shit, 30-40% might go down. So at least act fast on cutting the costs. I'm in no place to give you advice on your business in that category, because I have no idea on where that is going, right? But I do think that packaging has its own challenges, as some of my friends have told me. But reaching out to customers really fast at the top management and saying, just touching base is important. We saying last, we leave that for the last. As I said, you have to be first in the queue when it comes to taking money, because his cash flow is going to be constrained. If his cash flow is constrained, he'll pay you last, but today he's got some cash, right? And even if he won't pay you, he'll remember that you were first in queue. So next time, chalo usko thoda paisa sabse pehle usko do. I follow that religiously. A lot of my time was spent with customer calls out here, when suddenly they say, this guy, he's a senior chap, he's coming on a call, and the guy across me was a junior assistant manager procurement. But at least he got to know that there must be a fire. Yeah, that's why this guy is coming on the call. And I don't become smaller or any different by being on the call. That's what I meant. At least those areas identify and act fast.
Great. Thanks a lot. That was good enough.
Thank you, Iqbal. Thank you, Manish. Now I'm going to get on Amit Shah from Spectrum. He's going to be asking his questions. Amit bhai.
Am I audible, Manish?
Yes, absolutely, Amit bhai.
Okay. Hi, Manish. See, I have one question. Passion against money. Like, we are all entrepreneur, and we feel that stopping a business or going out of business like oh my. So I'll ask a question: a passion first or a money first?
Yeah. So I definitely don't believe, I used to believe, I don't believe in this whole piece. It's a very good question, Amit bhai, firstly, and it's a difficult one. But I no longer advise anybody to say, apna passion dhoond lo pehle, right? Or fir paisa aata jayega. Very few people are lucky enough to do that. Extremely few people, right? And I used to count myself as a lucky one, because in 7th grade, my dad bought me a computer. He was an export manager, right? So he, engineering guy, used to sell engineering products. He got me a computer in my 8th grade, and I was completely into computers. I found my passion, right? But look, I'm in printing today, right? So I think over a period of time, I realized my passion is products, creating something new, as well as customer service. To be stuck on a passion without a business and playing business is a poor combination if you're not producing results. It's like saying, I just love Pele on the field or Ronaldo on the field. He's just so good, so elegant. Look at the skills. He's so passionate. But if he does not score, after 5 games, you'll be booing him, right? He's no good for the team. So will you have a passionate footballer, right? Or a passionate cricketer on the field after some time? If the rules of the game are score goals to win. We're playing a game of business. Unfortunately, the rules are that you need to make money to win, right? So I would say money definitely trumps passion in this, because there's no place for a passion. Figure out a business model where your passion can fit in. So for example, if I was so passionate about, say, only digital print and serving customers, the right answer for me would have been my biggest 2 stores, just keep them on, Koramangala and Bangalore, and operate from the stores, because I love talking to customers, right? And and do that, right? And ठीक है, 100 crore नहीं है, पर 10 crore करेंगे और profit बनाएंगे. So I think that's how I would answer that question. I don't know if it makes sense, Amit bhai.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and it's just brilliantly, said about the football and stuff. So it's one side, one coin, 2 sides. You have to choose whichever side, but one coin is required, full coin.
Right.
Make it
yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amit bhai. Thank you, Manish. I'm now going to ask Mr. Siddharth Jain to please put on his audio and video and ask his question.
Hi, Manish. Hi. So my question is basically, it's a pretty generalistic question, but just to understand what essentially do you see as a reason why India still does not, not being able to produce companies like Zazzle, Custom Ink, these kind of companies generating 300, 400 million revenues, completely online platforms. Why is it so that, although it's been 20 years, why is it, what's the reason, do you think behind
Yeah.
this?
This is a very good question, and especially for a lot of us who are looking at new age businesses and new age models, right? It's important to answer that. I also started Printo thinking that it's retail stores. This is where we are going, the McDonald's of print, and we'll add on an online layer, so it will be online plus this combining very well in this big market. The reality is that we are a poor country. Okay, we are massively poor. Our GDP per capita is nowhere close to where we are. And I'll give you a very quick example of e-commerce, specifically because you've asked that. The largest e-commerce company in US is Vistaprint, right? In the world is Vistaprint. Their US revenues are today maybe $800 million. Right? Their worldwide revenues, Vistaprint.com, not Simpress, the slightly larger company, but worldwide revenues are some $2 billion. US में से 700-800 billion dollar. Just to do math simple, let's make it $1 billion. Anyways, हमारा पैसा नहीं है, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Okay, so it's $1 billion, right? Of largest print e-commerce company.
Right.
The largest e-commerce company in US, everything, right, is Amazon. Their US revenues, I think, are about now should be about $70-80 billion. Right?
Correct.
They are, so basically print e-commerce is 1%
of the
general e-commerce. If you take a proxy, right? 1 billion sounds great, but now if you take the largest, if you take Amazon, which is the largest in India, right, is about, I think, about 7,000 crores or something of that sort.
Right. Technically, Indian is 70 crores.
Sorry, yeah. So your largest company will be 70 crores, right? The largest online company in India is Vistaprint. And all numbers are public. So Vistaprint's last year's numbers were India numbers. If you strip out all the other software services, because the India numbers are 55 crores at a loss. So this is why is this happen? Because we don't have enough of people who've got a GDP, our GDP per capita is low. We don't have, our middle class is a myth. Actually, India is a 30 million people country where the income is beyond a certain level. Right? But I'm not complaining out here. I'm just saying that this is reality. I realize it much later, right? After trying to push ke kyun itna growth nahi ho raha and all that stuff. So, and that's why we don't have Zazzle, we don't have Shutterfly, we don't have any of those things. And having said that, Zazzle, Shutterfly, and everyone is also facing big problems in the US, right? So they themselves as companies are big brands, but Shutterfly, which was listed, got delisted and got bought out by Apollo. So, so it's not so Indian path will be different. You know, we also don't need $1 billion, right? That's the other positive side to it. You can make a $20-30 million company and be fantastic.
Right. Absolutely.
I'll be very happy with 100 crore online business.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So, but then let's not follow the path that everybody else seems to follow, right? Of raising shitloads of money. Right?
Correct.
You have to figure this out yourself by doing some of your own innovation and homegrown stuff to get to that 100 crores, right? Yeah, and do it right. But if you go out and raise money for this, actually, I'd raised money when I started Printo, thinking it's a massive market.
Correct.
And I realized that the market which I was going after is not as big. You know, I had to. My investor was very disappointed, so I had to buy them back. Luckily, I could buy them out at a discount and start building the company on my own.
So technically what you're saying is that because of the limitation of the market size itself, it is, and you see another, probably it will take a long time for India to get into that zone of being able, the market size is limited. It will take a lot of time for India to come to that position.
Yeah, and a lot of time is, I don't think most of us on this call will be alive by the time. Mobile phone or metro ko chhod ke, and airports now, right? You go anywhere in the West, forget West, go to China, right? You can see the massive difference it's an infrastructure doesn't come overnight. It comes with cultural governance, bunch of other stuff. It takes about 30, 40 years. So I would say we are about, maybe 40, 50 years behind the US, right? And you don't have to catch up with the US. I never believe that you need to do that. You just need to get your level higher from where you are today. So if you taking metrics from that market, then
this is what you get.
It'll work for our grandchildren, and but not otherwise.
Fantastic. And one more just simple follow-up question, that this is only we're talking about the Indian market.
Yeah.
If we talk about the entire like the world market, and if we look at any kind of products or any kind of trends that can be actually shipped to all over or the other countries, maybe we call as rich countries, US, UK, and other countries. Any particular products, any particular segments you think that we have Indian players have any competitive advantage on that probably the other players, like because you are directly heading on with companies that are already established and much bigger companies like Zazzle, Custom Ink, and other companies. So
let's look at the current data, where we are, right? The current data is that we don't have, and let's look at what Vistaprint does. Vistaprint does some printing for the US and European operations from India, right? And all this is available from the MCA, from their report, right? And you can see the export revenues there. And it's very small. It's like 10, 15 crores, despite having a captive buyer there. It's not even 10, 15 crores, it's about 8, 9 crores, despite having captive buyer there. See, as soon as you're talking of digital printing or smaller unit printing, or even bigger unit printing, shipping is a big cost, right? And that's a challenge. So where there's not a challenge, those things are addressed, like publishing, bunch of other areas, right? And I'm sure there are many areas, including in packaging, which I'm just not aware of. So, but when I looked at it from our businesses that we are in, I found the trade-off very difficult, right? And even printing a T-shirt out here, जो वहाँ $20 में मिल रहा है, right? And यहाँ आप $3 में भी काम कर दो, right?
Correct. But the shipping costs are too high.
The shipping cost, timelines, some of those challenges were coming in, but I think I've not looked at it as much. I will be looking at it. In fact, this was my morning walk thought, that I need to put somebody in charge of at least look at international and say, boss, where can I sell my wedding photo books, right? At this price, because they are 1/10 the price that you get abroad. Right? So I think working there might work. The other area that you could do is you could tie up with, I was speaking to an Australian guy, Chris, who runs a very nice company called PMI. He's the backend for all these e-commerce companies. So you make a list of, and I intend to do that. So I'm telling you as well that I'm just going to make a list of all the e-commerce photo book companies, this, that, and reach out to all of them and say, boss, tum India na chahte ho. India is such a big market, 1 billion of us, right? Even after COVID 2 we yet have 1 billion people alive. And we're going to buy lots of your photo books. Why don't you launch in India? I'm going to be a partner. And by the way, why don't I service UAE also? Because it's overnight shipping for me. I think there's an opportunity for mass customization where China can't compete. If you do full production, China is better off, right? But mass customization where labor costs are yet cheaper here, we might be better off.
Right, Manish. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Manish. Manish, how are we doing on time? Are we okay for some more questions?
I'm very good because it's Saturday. I normally start having beer at 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay, lovely. So, let's get Tejas online. Tejas, your questions, please.
Yeah, hi, Manish. So I have a couple of general questions. So how do you lead, motivate, and enable your remote team? Because a lot of people are working from home. So how do you enable and motivate them in this crisis?
So let's see what's worked for us. One is that if you already have a connect, it worked. So luckily, we had a connect with a lot of our remote teams, right? And it didn't turn out to be so difficult yet, just because being on the phone, doing this call, right? If I speak to you for 15-20 minutes, I get to know you better, you get to know me better, and then we can do that. So I also realized that it was actually easier to communicate, right? So I did about, I had a weekly update. So I sent a weekly update on a video every week for the last time, right? I must have sent, I used Loom. It's now, first it was free. Now it's $8 a month or something like that, right? And LOOM, where you can record as well as do a presentation, right? So instead of just, so, it's easy. If you've got a slightly larger team, easy to do that. If you've got a smaller team, get onto a WhatsApp video chat regularly, right? You have to, people on Zoom, they don't have great bandwidth, so they do switch off the, the video. But I think WhatsApp video is much better. Group video calls, we've been using that a lot, right? And that's something which communication keeps on. I'll also tell you a story of success and failure. So success was great last time. We communicated, over communicated. I was on the phone with lots of people. This time I was really tired, right? And I was on the phone with lots of people solving their home issues, death issues, some other stuff in there. I was in no mood of doing communication. I could see that when I finally went out and communicated, so my team was leading it, right? But even when I finally went out and communicated, I could not find the same connect. So the first time you may not find the connect, and if you don't do it regularly, you'll break it, however deep your bonds. Because everyone's situation has changed, right? And so my learning is that do that more regularly, right? Just video calls regularly with multiple people.
Correct. And just a follow-up question, everybody is going through a crisis. So how do you evolve as an organization? Any suggestions for that?
So I don't know if I think this will happen automatically, right? Because one thing our head of enterprise business, Pritish, told me, right? When we were doing we have got something called the executive committee. We are doing a meeting last COVID wave. He said, at least one good thing is we know what to do, right? He's saying we've been through this, we'll come out of it, because we'd been through this in 2008, right? So I think you don't need to do anything out here. Your team will come out of it very strong. All of us learn because we are mature folks, right? There's even children will learn in this, but we'll come out of it very strong. But I think this is one of the times when the top guy has to come in. So I literally took over from my CEO for a few months, and I'm doing that again now, because you need to come in with that same passion and dedication, and at least communicate to the team, right? I don't, everyone's got his own style. My style is positive, but I also give a lot of direct news first, bad news first, and then talk about the positive. So over a period of time, because you can't just keep giving positive news every time. The sabko malum hai kya scene hai, right? But luckily you just need to give it the first time, right? So the first month, so we used to talk about our sales every week and monthly sales. And I used to say, after the third time, I would say, I'll just talk 2 minutes about sales, because aapko malum hai sales ka kya haal hai. So, and then we'll move on to everything else. And it's surprising, everybody from logistics to delivery to production knows how bad sales are, right? Aapke paas kaam hi nahi aa raha hai, to puri company ko pata hai. So we don't have to worry about those things. Yeah? So I would just say, and everyone will learn, and they'll mostly learn on how we came together in that crisis.
In the group, yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Tejas. Milap, you want to take over?
Yes. So there are a couple of anonymous questions and we can't get them in, so I'm going to ask on their behalf. And there's one more question I have, which was pre-sent to me by email. Today, what role does print play in the marketing mix, if any?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, right? I think print's main role was communication, right? Even in packaging, it's communication outside, right? So besides protection for packaging is different, but print's main role is communication. And what is the role of, and who's leading communication today, right? So from the Bible, communication was always led by paper, right? Print, I think, got hit by television a bit, but really not much. But today, how many of us are communicating using print internally, right? Very few of us, right? Or externally. Everything is email, everything digital. That's the reality. Wake up. Everyone's woken up, right? Our kids have woken up. We've just not woken up. Now that's the reality. And now, so its relevance is very high in some places, right? I definitely need a fantastically packed package. I need a great personalized diary. I need great print on canvas. There are areas out there, but there are some things which have changed fundamentally. It's a step function, and we've lost, I think, brochures, bunch of stuff. These are all my staple prints, by the way. Brochures, flyers, everything, 6% of my business, 3% of my business. Boom. I don't expect it to come back in a rush, right? Menus, every damn thing is, it was happening. I don't think we can blame it on COVID. COVID just accelerated it, right? And said, who gives out flyers? And I remember I've got another group of marketeers, right? These are all young guys, right? Bloom, which is one of my, which is on our board, is so marketeers. I'm on that group. CMOs, right? We don't have a CMO, so I'm on the group. And the question is, sometimes when we talk about who does flyers, this may 1-2 saal pehle ki baat kar, right? I was the only guy who does flyers around the stores. Right? And, I anyways had a complex mein sabse boodha hu us group mein on top of this. So I think the relevance will change and definitely reduce in those areas.
No, I think I completely echo your thoughts. Just like every conversation I've had with you in the past, I see myself nodding to everything you say, just that you are more articulate than I am. One more anonymous question that I have is that, and I think it's a very valid one, when do you think is the threshold or the trigger to decide to shut down the business and move on? And I do relate to this also because, I mean, that we were also in the retail business, and it took us a while to decide to shut them down and ensure that we, because it's baggage, we are very attached to it. And I think if there are any advice you could give on seeing that, okay, this is the writing on the wall, move on.
Yeah. I think it's always good to give advice to others. So imagine that you were somebody else who walked into your business. What would you do, right? If you can just switch off for a moment and say, you've just walked into your business, seeing the business, and you've got to advise Milap what to do. What are the 3 things you'll tell these guys? You're a flyer. And it brings a little more clarity on things there. That's one thing I use, right? The second thing I use is, what will I regret I didn't do 6 months from now, right? Shit hits the ceiling, everything. What will I really regret? It is so difficult to find a store. It sometimes has taken us 3 years in an area to find a store, right? Now to shut it down, find a store, get people in, put it in, get customers walking in, negotiate with the landlords, now shut it down. And, it's a mess. So it's very difficult. I completely agree with you. The only way you can take it is step aside, say, look at 6 months, detach yourself from the situation by one, pretending it's not you. You're giving advice to Milap, to getting away and saying, what will happen in 6 months? What will you regret? Sala tabhi karna chahiye tha, and I think in general, I also see that if I ask somebody else, right, on where the value they see in us, right, I say I can do this without that piece, right, to it. But your other piece, what's the threshold? I think we should not wait for, unless there are different personalities. If you can set a threshold and say, okay, if the sales go below 30%, I'm shutting off, right? But I find that very difficult for different personalities to do. Some of, like, I can't do it, right? 30% ke niche to switch off kar dena. I can take a call today, connecting 2-3 dots and say yes, right? But some entrepreneurs can. I have a friend who said, if his business, he used to talk a lot to me, and he's a very senior guy who heads out a very big business today. And he says, kya karoon? So I said, boss, you got to raise money, right? You're saying, so kab tak raise karega? He said, haan. I said, kitna time lagega? 6 mahine. I said, nahi karega to I'll go and get a job. He executed exactly the plan. He tried till the 6th month like hell. He finally didn't raise it, but he had some term sheets, but he thought it won't happen. He started looking for a job. In the 9th month, he was heading a big OTT channel, which he does today. So I think we need to be, depending on our personality, get somebody else. Also, talking to talking to a friend, and yeah, I think for me, talking to my wife now that she's not in the business but is on the board helps a lot. If you need bad news, you need to come and talk to Lalana.
I think I echo your thoughts, because I think a lot of us are not very open in talking about our problems to others.
Yeah.
And I think the more we do that, I think we might be able to get the real advice out of people.
Yes.
So I think
that's a great point. We need to talk more to others about this. Yeah.
So, Fahim Bhai, I think you said you have one more last question.
We have one last question from Nitin Bhai. Nitin Bhai, please put on your video and audio and ask the question.
I am not able to start my video. Okay. Anyway, Mr. Manish, this is Nitin Shah.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you a very simple question, though it may be repetitive question, but in a country, there are n number of small commercial printers. And today, almost all the printers have come down by 25% or lower than 25% for their actual turnover. Okay, so most of the common feeling in these printers are that it is because of pandemic. COVID has killed the commercial printers. But according to me, prior to pandemic also, commercial printers were started dying. So do you think that digitization is the main reason, pandemic is the main reason of the commercial printer dying, or they have not changed themselves according to the time is the reason? Can you please put some light on this? So many commercial printers are there who can come to know the facts about this. And second question, do you think that commercial printers will revive again?
So the data I have is that general commercial printing, right, is down by about 60%. And those were down 25%. I wish I was in your position, because I would have been done, because all my cuts would have made me profitable by now. And I'm talking about digital commercial print, general commercial print. Offset would be worse hit, right? Where is my data coming from? My data is coming from HP, and my data is coming from Xerox, right? And I think on this forum, I just like to keep it there so we protect sources, right? I don't want you to please go out and tell HP ke tumne kya bola, right, market mein, but this is the reality, right? Yeah, the upside for them has been a photo, has been packaging, of course. So just so that they don't accuse me of putting only one side of the picture. But GCP has come down dramatically, right? And it's come down in my business. It's come down in your business. If you're 25%, congratulations, right? I think my overall business is down right now. I think even next month, if we start opening, it'll yet be down 60%, right? But my photo business is down only 20%. And this month, my business is down 85, 90%. We're like completely screwed. And is this something which was caused by COVID? COVID only extended it. I think this is an industry in decay. Now, please understand, I am not blaming us. I'm not saying कि क्या गंदा industry है. Every industry goes into decay and then comes back in a different way, right? The number of automobile companies at the start of 1900 must have been, in the US itself, were over 100. Could you imagine? Over 100 automobile companies. Now, if they were sitting around like this and saying, okay, we have not innovated fast enough, we've not done anything fast enough, means, let's stop blaming ourselves. Let's start taking the action, right? This is an environment, right? It's not that we didn't do the best to go and get the best printout or we didn't this thing. It just, we were so into our business, we haven't stood out and looked at it, and we can't. It's almost impossible, right, for us. Times like these help us do that. So I think it's an industry in decay, just got pushed and exposed by COVID. That's it, right? So as they say that when the tide goes out, right, all the nude swimmers are exposed. That's what's happened to us out here. But don't take it personally so much that, we should have done something differently. I say, yaar, kya karenge? Abhi time ye mauka hai, karte hain, right? But your second question was, sorry,
I asked you the second question. Can you suggest whether this is how they can revive, if commercial printing is going to revive post pandemic or after 2 years, 3 years, or still it is going to die? Or if
I think-
really it has to
I think
revive,
we should
what will be the
assume
source?
it will be very dangerous to assume that it will revive. Extremely dangerous, right? And if half the printers get out of printing today in India, it will revive. But only for those who are in the print business. It'll be good for both, because you've got massive, we all have oversupply. Right? Even in the best of Printo's times, my digital equipment across runs at 35% capacity. Means if I take it over a month, right? And I'm not talking about what it can produce if I run 3 shifts. These are digital printers in stores, right? So if the rated output is 80,000 A3 sheets a month, right? We do maybe, in the best of months, we do 60, 70%. In the worst of months, 25%, average 40, 35, 40%, right? Now, what do you have to say about that? Right? And luckily, our business was not based around our equipment. So that's one of the decisions we got right. We said it's more based on service. So we charge more. I don't have to sweat my assets. But traditionally, most of printing is based on assets, right? And you have to have that big asset. You've got massive overcapacity, right? So yeah, there's no way in hell print will go back to normal in this, the way we understand commercial print, right? Something else might change. And secondly, I think we should act fast. So we at least save some of us. Actually, we'll save everybody if we act fast. If I get out of business, मेरा business किसी और को मिलेगा, उसका भला होगा, कम से कम उसकी capacity पूरी होगी, मेरा भला होगा कि मेरा tension कम होगा, मैं कुछ और नया जाके करूँगा, right? I think that's the way I look at it. And don't worry, if we don't do it, unfortunately, it will be done anyways. Because that's the reality and the truth. If you agree that that's the truth, then आप कुछ करो या ना करो, वो तो होने ही वाला है. It's not in your control. Sorry to sound a little dour on the note, but I just feel that there's a positive side to it also.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, Manish. That was really, really brilliant. I'm still speechless as to what to say and what to think. But all what you said makes a lot of sense. There's one other important thing that we need to realize is that about if 30% of the commercial printing companies decide to get into packaging, and out of that, if 15% of them survive, some of them will perish because it's not so easy. But if 15% of them survive, then the packaging industry also is going to go through a tough patch with the kind of margins which are going to reduce. So that's another thought that we should keep in mind. Anyway, so that we come to an end of a lovely, lovely session. I want to thank first Manish for being so frank and forthright, calling a spade a spade. I wish we had similar such leaders all around us. We wouldn't be in this situation. Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, Newlith. Thank you, Milap, for arranging and asking and coaxing Manish to join us and share. It's not so easy to share what Manish did today. I want to thank my team, Minu and Vivek, who helped curate this, and Prashant at the Bombay Master Printers Association. Before we sign off, I've got a small announcement. On the 12th of June, which is Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have another impact session coming up. 12th of June, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The trainer is Mubin Rafat. She's a professor of economics and finance, and she's going to be talking to us about what should business leaders look at when they look at a balance sheet and a P&L statement. What are those key things they need to look at as a business leader? So please keep your diaries marked for 12th June, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Once again, I want to thank all of you, especially Manish, for sharing and spending some time with us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely evening and a lovely weekend.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much.
Thank you.